everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Cynthia and today's video is a journal with me video process. So here I'm just showing you the bits and pieces that I would like to use in the spread. It's just a combination of various bits of ephemera from my stash as well as some daily life ephemera that I've accumulated. So the first bit that I want to work with is this beautiful digital print from Ruby and Pearl XO, and I'm just ripping it. I want to use that bottom fabric print, and what I'm doing here is that I really want to create a sense of continuity between the pages, so I plan on using that same print on two of my pages. So the middle page is a little bit shorter, so I wanted to see that same fabric from the one page to the other to create this sense of unity and just so that it flows really well together. So I'm just trimming that one piece for this page here, and I'm gonna go ahead and rip the edges as well as ink them up. And I'm also going to be playing around with a page from a book that I've tea stained, and I'm just kind of figuring out where I'm going to be putting that, but I'm just going to be collaging it onto the page. And looking here, I wanted to try some new stuff in this spread, and I've decided to create a hole in this page and create that kind of like a wallpaper that's been ripped that just shows the different layers and different eras of time, I guess. So here I've made the hole and I'm just inking that up, and I will be placing the digital print back onto the page and also distressing the area where the hole is. So I've just used it as a stencil, and then I'm going a little bit out of the lines to make sure that none of the edges are missed. And in this spread, I'm actually going to be doing this quite a few times. So what I've done here is I've taken the piece of the page that I'm planning on collaging onto, and I've placed it a little bit further out than where I plan on putting it. And I've just stampled, I used it as a stencil, and then I've just used the distressing ink to create this kind of shading. And I'll be doing that to a few different elements. And this was a technique that I was just playing around with. And I really like the effect that it created and just the different element of interest that it added to the page. Again, just doing some stenciling here and just having fun with it and trying something new. I find it difficult sometimes to try new things, and I get a little bit overwhelmed and just afraid that it's not going to work out the way that I want it. But if you don't try, I mean, you're going to kind of stay stuck in your ways, right? So here I'm moving into this little, it's like a packaging from a pair of earrings that were gifted to me, and I'm going to be covering it with another part of that digital print, and I'm just going to kind of skip around. So you see here what I've created. I've just glued and recutted that a little bit of like that square that shows. And then here I'm playing around with a piece of tissue. I absolutely love this tissue paper. The tone of it is one of my favorites, and this tissue paper is actually from Anthropology. So over the years I've bought a couple items from there, and I've always I tend to hold on to tissue paper for gifting, and when I started crafting I realized how beautiful this tissue paper is, so it's one of my favorites. And so now I've moved on to that middle page, and I've ripped up the edges of that printable again, and just trying to pick some of the items that I can play around that I had gathered. So here I'm placing that tissue, and I'm just gonna trim it so that it fits onto the page nicely. Whenever I'm working with tissue paper, I use my glue stick, and I really like to create folds in the tissue paper. I don't like to glue it down like straight. I like to bunch it up a little bit and create extra texture. I also had a random little bit left from another printable that I'm just trimming here, and I plan on using just a piece of it with the letters. It's from a Ledger printable. And here again, I'm also planning on collaging a piece of a book page onto this page and just creating different layers and different interest points. I'm using the stenciling method again. I really hope you guys are doing well. It's getting really cold here where I live. I'm in Canada. I'm in Alberta, so that's in the western part of the country, and I'm quite north. So just this past week we had some, I believe last night it got down to -20. I'm not sure what temperature that is, but I think it's close to 0 for Fahrenheit. It's just not very cold for the month of October, but thankfully this week is supposed to be a little bit nicer. So I'm just using my glue stick to glue everything down here and just assembling the different elements. I don't know about you guys, but I am so ready for all of the Christmas content. I love the holiday season, and this year I won't get to go home, unfortunately, but I'm really trying to make the best of it and just filling my time with preparing for like different little decorations. And I'm still trying to be very positive about it, and you know, even though I don't get to be with my family, it'll still be a beautiful time, and it'll be a wonderful Christmas nonetheless. So I created a pocket with that one piece of the printable. I didn't glue all of it down. And now I'm just moving on to other elements that I had gathered, and I really want to do something with that little matchbox. That came in a little package that I got from Cassie from Dust to Roses. And what I want to create is a little bit of, I guess like a book in a way, but I'm just cutting down a few pieces of papers to staple into the matchbook. And then I'm going to glue some words onto there. and essentially create like not a poem, but it's just a few words of encouragement and hope. This whole spread, what I was journaling about is to stay positive and to continue to have hope, and that things always end up, turning around, and there's always a better day no matter what. So I've just gathered those. I'm gonna trim them a little bit more, and then I'm gonna staple them into the matchbook here. So here you see the different words that I've picked up. I am going to do a close-up of this so you will see a little bit better. But it's fairly simple. The only thing, whenever I'm using words like that, it takes me a while. I go through like the whole page and then I try and pick out words that could work, and you really have to kind of play around with the words. But it's worth it. I really like the effects of it. So here you see I have patiently, I will grow, start again, and remember. So just some little words of encouragements for myself. And then I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the earring packaging. I really wasn't sure. I liked that it kind of framed some of the images, but I also didn't want to cover that beautiful printable, so I just wasn't quite sure what I was going to be doing with it. And I have this vintage piece of ephemera that I just want to stick on there. I like the tones of it, and this is something that I've definitely struggled with. When I first started journaling, I really struggled using things that weren't mine and didn't particularly have a specific meaning. I would kind of get stuck and feel like, well, this doesn't belong on here. It doesn't have meaning. But over time, I've just accepted that it's okay if something doesn't have a specific meaning. If I like what it looks like, if I think that it brings something to the page, then that's meaning enough for me. Here I'm just trimming one of the tags that I have, and it had a thicker border, and I just didn't want that border for this particular page, so I just cut it off. And I'm just gonna be gluing that down just with my glue stick. So here I've inked a little bit of the packaging, and what I've decided to do is to stick a piece of paper where I'm going to be able to write, and I'm just going to use that beautiful page. This page is from a book called Potpourri, and I'm not sure what that's called. Is it potpourri in English as well? That's a great question. Maybe if you know, answer down below. But essentially, like when you dry herbs and like florals and it smells good and you put that in a little bag. This book's about that, and it has beautiful imagery. So I included a few pages from that book in this journal. And I didn't want to cover all of it because I think it's so pretty. So I used it as a kind of a frame around that packaging. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to add a ruffle at the bottom. I tend to add my ruffles to the side, but I thought it would be fun to do something different and add one at the bottom there. And then the next thing I'm also going to do is I'm going to be adding that little box. And to do so, I'm just going to use a little brad clip. So I'm just going to be poking a hole through the matchbox and then securing it onto the page. So that way I'll be able to kind of play around with it. And I really like interactive things like that you can either open or flip or just move a little bit. That's why I really like textures in my journals as well. I just really like to touch all the different elements in my journal when I do flip through. And whenever I go back and see what I've created and try, sometimes like if I feel really uninspired, I really like to go back to what I've done before and take a look through my previous journals and just get re-inspired by things that once inspired me. So here you see me trying to secure that onto here and then just flipping that. Now I'm going back to that vintage piece of ephemera, and I really like the way that it looks at the top there, so I'm just going to be stapling it. This way it's on there, but it still has flexibility. Again, I just like things to be able to move a little bit, and I'm not too concerned. So I'm flipping things apparently, and just trying to find a space for this little sticker, and I think I settle on the empty page that I have there. It's a really pretty graph page, so I felt like it was a little bit bare, so I added some wider washi tape to try and decorate it a little bit, but I didn't want to cover it because that's where I plan on journaling. And so I'm adding some pieces of washi tape and then the flower sticker. And then I believe I add another piece of washi, but I didn't end up liking the way that looked. So here you see me do that. And then I try to remove it, but it's not going to work because it's going to rip the paper. So I just stuck a different piece of washi tape on top of it. It happens, you know, sometimes we do things and we don't end up loving what we've done. Now I've stamped my date and I'm finished. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. It was such a fun spread to create and I really love the way that it turned out. I will talk to you guys in my next video, and until then, take care and thanks so much for watching.